go?
Let's do it. Let's do
Time
it.
for Daily Stoic. I always say it like that, where I'm like, it's like, we're preschoolers. Hi, everyone. Hello, everyone.
Some of us might be preschoolers.
Hello, everyone. Vanessa, the body language person, said, speak in the lowest register of your voice. It's the most calming,
Hello,
the most
everyone.
soothing. And I'm a millennial who wants to end all my stuff like this. Okay, March 18th.
Very good. Okay, I'm gonna make myself comfortable. Okay.
Settle in, because today we're going to talk about impossible without your consent.
Impossible without consent.
Without your consent.
Impossible without your consent. Okay.
It makes me think of that Roosevelt. Who was Roosevelt's wife? Who was FDR's wife? Or was it Teddy's wife? I don't know. But she said, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. That's like a quote I learned from the Princess Diaries when I was 13.
Oh, okay. At least you know your sources.
That's what it makes me think of.
Cool. It makes me think of that someone misused words to try to write a sentence or something. I'm not understanding.
Ryan, we have notes for you for your second edition. March 18th, Oli says, does not make sense.
Can you read that again?
Impossible without your consent.
I can sit here for 15 minutes and mull it over and come up with something, but that's not very
Let's move on then.
Let's go. Nobody wants this.
Marcus Aurelius, he has a quote for us today.
Mm-hmm.
Today I escaped from the crush of circumstances, or better put, I threw them out, for the crush wasn't from outside me, but in my own assumptions. Mm-hmm. What assumptions? Today I escaped from the crush of circumstances, or better put, I threw them out.
So something was happening, something bad was happening. Why was it bad? Because he escaped, right? So it's like, oh, I escaped from that.
I escaped the crush.
The crush.
So it's like something happened. I felt crushed.
Crushed, but I escaped that crush.
I threw it out.
Actually, I didn't escape it. I threw it out. It was in
it's
there.
Gone.
It was in there, and I took it and I tossed it. Okay.
The garbage man picked it up.
How is he doing that?
For the crush wasn't from outside me.
Oh, because it's like, I thought that the crush
was from the...
But it's actually in here, and I have control over what I do with the thing. Okay.
The crush wasn't outside me. It was in my own assumptions.
My own assumptions. It wasn't even here. It was just in the assumptions. The assumptions.
It's always
assuming that
the damn
something
assumptions.
Is.
It's always the damn
because
assumptions.
It's so easy, right? It's so easy to want to finish the story. Right? You're like, well, how does the story end? It's probably going to end like this. Right? And now you're in trouble. Versus, I'm going to wait to see how the story ends. But you should not have assumptions. No, that's how we are still alive, in my opinion, in some way, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's quite. I don't.
It's
think
not
it's
it's not about eliminating assumptions.
Maybe it's noticing what is and isn't an assumption.
Yeah.
And that happens to me all the time. Actually, let's say I get an email from somebody and I freak out, and then I'm going through what they said, and I'm realizing that my reaction of the freak out assumes 5 or 6 missing pieces that I don't have.
They're not actually there, but you could read it that way, and then...
Not only could I, but I did, instantaneously, because I read something and it was, in the split second. It's not as if I'm, combing through this to be what information is in here? No, I, read it, and then I have a gut reaction, and the gut reaction is filled with assumption. It's filled with these, little bits of pieces of information that I didn't actually get from the email, but I just filled in. So...
I would call this, don't fool yourself by emotion or by assumptions or something like that. But
Ryan.
No, Ryan, the title is perfect. It's fine. There's no problem with it. But a lot of people, other people might get it very quickly. Be like, yeah, totally, I know what this is. Someone who like read, 500 books more than me.
Well, impossible without your consent. It's like I consent to believe something that's not totally true, which is the assumption. And with that assumption comes this whole emotional storm of X, Y, and Z. And so I've consented to it and through this whole thing, but it's convoluted. Like, Ryan, the thing here is assumptions equal bad. March 18th.
Oh, yeah, if I had a choice, I would like to be a critic. This painting is bad. This book is bad.
Or in Slovak...
These cupcakes are not so.
Or in Slovak, they would say zle, right?
Yeah.
Bad? Yeah, so now you know some Slovak. Okay, Ryan, what do you have to say today? On tough days, we might say, my work is overwhelming, or my boss is really frustrating. I don't know if I think I would say it more colorfully than that. If only we could understand that this is impossible. Someone can't frustrate you. Work can't overwhelm you. These are external objects, and they have no access to your mind. Those emotions you feel, as real as they are, come from the inside, not the outside. The Stoics use the word, hypolepsis, which means taking up, of perception, thoughts, and judgments by our mind. What we assume, what we willingly generate in our mind, that's on us. We can't blame other people for making us feel stressed or frustrated any more than we can blame them for our jealousy. The cause is within us. They're just the target.
Nicely said.
You don't need to change that part, Ryan. Just the title. I really like it.
Yeah. Any takeaways or action items?
It's both kind of liberating and also like frustrating that the solution is always in me. It's liberating because it's like...
You were like, oh, I actually have
have the power.
Or I have the power, that's right.
But it's frustrating because I'm not in control of it yet.
I don't know how to do it yet,
Yeah, so I'm not in control of it yet. That makes it frustrating.
That's the bad news, but the good news is that it is only in there and you are already next to that thing you need to figure it out.
Yeah. I literally do not need life to change for me in order for me to feel more in control and confident and happy and just satisfied
that's such
with my
a
life.
huge realization, because otherwise if you found out that something that you need for yourself is outside of you, what a desperate life idea that would be. You know what I mean? Like, because now everyone's like looking for now people sometimes think that like the gold or whatever possessions, things like, oh, those are the right, but it's like, you actually and then you don't actually have access to it, like, right? Like, I will never find a diamond the size of my fist, right? Like, but what if that's the thing outside of me that I need in order for me to feel complete, right? Like thank God it's all inside of us. Even though it's really difficult to find, it's probably as difficult as finding the diamond as the size of your fist.
And the guy who believes that finding the fist-sized diamond, he will be complete. He will realize he's not complete the moment he finds it. Because he'll find it and he'll have the moment of like, this is fucking awesome. But then it's going to very quickly move on to, oh no, and I'm still the same that I was. So I'm still on the hook for figuring this out, no matter how good life gets out there.
Yeah, so like no, like the action item is like looking. I'm gonna look through like situations more through glasses that are kind of that I'm looking at it through these glasses of I'm just thinking if I can actually, like, is that even possible to do? But I think so. Just like having that filter of like seeing it, when am I exaggerating? Not exaggerating, but when am I assuming? When do I know, like noticing that spot of like, oh wow, like that's, like, or maybe questioning it, like constantly questioning it, because like, yeah, questioning it, like, is this assumption? Am I assuming this? Oh yeah, there's probably a bunch of assumptions in there. Okay. Again, like, it's okay. Keep doing it. Right? Like, I have to keep saying that because like otherwise I feel to myself like, stop it. Don't do that. Don't do that. Like, I hear this voice that says, you now know that assumptions are bad. Stop it. But it's no, don't stop it. Just notice it, and then because you need them. You actually need them. If they stop, you're just like wet blanket.
Well, yeah, I think if they stop, you aren't actually, like, your sense making of situations goes down. Like, you almost need to fill in the gap in order to like have some sense of a situation. And you're like more accurate than not, which means that like you're not bumping into corners or like sticky situations all of the time. But that like in every impression that you have of reality, there's going to be some part in there that's colored by missing information or information that you're biased towards in some way or something like that.
Or believing that what's written at, what you're being told by social media is true, right? Or any of that. Like, we're not, maybe like being more skeptical is really the thing. Like, hey, is this really of your own, but also the stuff that you read, like, is this really like how it is? Like, right? Like, you can't, because the second you believe the thing that it's written as how it is, now you internalize it, and now internally you think that that's how it is.
Sure.
So that's another place to question it.
Yeah.
You already have things that are learned, so questioning those, but then also the new stuff that's coming and questioning if that's really, and you might not be able to answer it, right? Because you're gonna like, well, I don't know. Okay, I don't know is great. I don't know will create that. I have less assumptions.
Sure.
No.
And I'm wondering, for me, if it makes sense to kind of, when I start to feel a more like uncomfortable, intense emotion, those, I still don't notice them all the time, like right away when they happen. Like sometimes even like you'll be like, hey, like, Brenty, why are you so like elevated about this or something like that? And I won't really have even noticed that until you say something. But those emotions tend to be something that like I notice, in my day. Like I'm like, oh wow, that's whew. And so maybe for me it's like when I notice those emotions, there's 100% chance. Let me not say that. There's 99.9 with the line over it % chance that emotion is based on some degree of assumption.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, when I notice I have an intense emotion, that could be a good time to practice something like this.
Like asking, what is it that I'm having? Like, I have this feeling.
So what assumptions?
So what is the assumption that I'm having?
Yeah. What assumptions am I making about this that are creating this
That's a
thing?
good way to like ask yourself.
Yeah.
That's a good question for yourself.
So that it's not this thing of like, well, assumptions, like that's my biggest challenge with this kind of material is like, I love it. I understand it in the moment. And then I have a really hard time bridging it from the intellectual understanding to like, and now my everyday life is different because I'm doing X, Y, or Z differently.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm trying to crack the code on some of this. And I'm wondering if this might be a good way a tool to use when I'm feeling difficult emotions. Does that help in some way? I'll report back. Does that help in some way to help me navigate that circumstance, that situation, by inserting this sort of observation about assumption?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, they're like, if you can create tools for yourself that kind of help you go through these things, then yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, tools are important for sure. Like having some way of dealing with it, you know. Yeah.
What else you got today?
That's it.
All right, let's wrap it up.
Cool beans.
All right. Tell us what you think, and we'll see you here tomorrow.
Oh.
No?